Pretty day out. God, it's so freaking cold though. Sun's so bright. Good morning, Viper. Oh, current temperature is 37 degrees, 7:20 in the morning. It's freaking cold. Oh my gosh, it's like my windshield was just covered in frost. My car's got a snowflake on the dashboard. So it's like, roads may be icy. Really hate that. It's like, come on, spring, hurry up. So I got home and I ordered some slightly smaller stickers for giveaways, and they arrived. I was not expecting them for a week yet, but I don't know what the deal is with that, but yeah, that was just really cool. So Timmy's gonna have a lot of fun having to cut them into individual stickers. They come on a sheet, and I ordered them through Canva to see how their sticker quality is. And it seems like they're pretty darn good stickers. I like doing the merch site because they're huge, but at the same time, I don't like them because they're huge. And also, my neighbor Cole from down the road sent her son up with a Mayday card and a rather nice sized basil plant. So let's see how long it'll take before I kill that. Me and plants don't get along very well. I did not inherit my dad's green thumb. My dad could grow anything. We'd go down to the mall, and some of the seating areas would have like these beautiful plants planted in the center and my dad would just go along and he would take cuttings off of these plants from the mall and bring them home. Work is magic, and then next thing you know, we got all these plants from South Center Mall. I think it's called Westfield now, but my dad was a character. So it's Thursday, which means tomorrow's my Friday. So, Throwback Thursday, what that entails, Civvy? Well, Civvy tells a story about something that was funny back the early days of chasing down a chef title. I think I was about 17 at the time, and I was working in a barbecue place. And it was in my hometown of Burien. There's actually much stories to be had from there. But when I talk about uh, chefs being tough, I remember working one day and a bunch of people walked in and I had to get their orders ready, and I went to go look at my boss, and my boss was nowhere to be seen, but there was this puddle of blood all over the counter and all over the floor, and there was a trail, drag marks. I mean, it looked like a crime scene. And I walk around the corner, and there he is. He's standing there with his back facing me, pants down to his ankles. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And he turns around, and he's in his underwear, and he's got like an apron and a half dozen towels wrapped around his leg. And I'm like looking at it. I'm like, what on earth? And he's like, I was cutting down boxes. I go, and why are you holding that against your leg if you were cutting down boxes? We had just gotten the knives sharpened, and we had a food service delivery that had come in, and so he was breaking down the boxes, and he had the boxes sitting on the counter, and he was cutting the boxes with chef knives, and he was swiping down, and somehow the knife caught something on the box. I think it was a label or something, and he ended up stabbing himself in the thigh. And freaking out. I'm just a teenager at the time, and he's just standing there quietly and calmly, pressing his towel. I'm like, you need to go to the emergency room. Do you want me to call 911? No, you don't need to call 911. It'll stop bleeding. I'm like, how long have you been standing here? Oh, a while. I'm like, well, then it's probably not going to stop anytime soon. And you're going to need to go to the hospital. So the assistant manager, Tom, walks in and about to start a shift, and he's like, oh, we gotta go to the emergency room. And the owner's younger brother, who had another job as a baker at a pie company, was also there. It's just a rival. And so somebody had a business with me. Being a teenager alone in a restaurant. Yeah, okay. No. So several hours later, he comes back, and got his leg all bandaged up. You can see the bandage. Put his pants back on, and it's like just covered in blood. Just gash marks from the knife, blood stains all over the pants, and but you can see the bandage through the gash. Decided he was going to work the rest of his day sitting in his office. Like, you gotta be shit. So when I think about it, I'm like, that is just badass. That's totally badass. Yeah. That had to really hurt the next day. I mean, he just looked like absolute garbage. Back doped up, propped up in a chair in his office. Yeah. He's gonna finish out his day. Brother, little brother's like, you need to go home. You need to go home. No, I don't need to go home. Yeah. Back then, the minimum wage was $3.85 an hour. I'm not even certain what the minimum wage is these days. $3.85 an hour. That's crazy. I graduated from high school and college. Worked at this restaurant. Hated college. By the time I was 19, I was assistant managing one of the other locations. We had like five at the time. Closer to my apartment. It was much larger dining room than in my hometown. But I remember my dad being so proud because I got a job. But, to be honest, like, it wasn't my first job. My first job was actually working for the school district as a tutor for 12 hours a week for the Highline Indian Education Program. I was a reading and English tutor. Yeah, it'll stop when all the blood is gone. What I learned from that was never use a chef's knife to cut down boxes and never swipe down with the knife while cutting down boxes. You could end up stabbing yourself. I mean, for crying out loud, it's like, that was a pretty bad stab. He was lucky he didn't hit a major artery. Right, it is time for coffee. I don't want to face the sun, so I'm going to go around to the other window. Whee! Round and good morning, beautiful. I'm sorry. Good. How about you? Yep. Yep. It's just starting. I'm sure that my day is going to get really interesting later. My day is going to be very interesting later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is it going to be interesting?
Because I have the 3-day crew, and uh, it's they're just sometimes I feel like I need to get out the crayons and hand puppets to explain to them how not to do things and how to do things. And then I need the coffee. If you got some bourbon back there, just put a couple splashes of that. Okay, I wouldn't drink on the job. That would be irresponsible. Too early, too. Oh, my goodness. It's such a pretty day out, but it's so cold.
Yeah, I know. It's supposed to be warm tomorrow. Last time I checked, it was supposed to be like 80.
No way. Really?
Yeah, last time I checked, but it changed like every day since the last week.
Right. Yeah, because when I looked at the 10-day forecast, they were saying that it was going to rain on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, it changed to sunny on Friday.
Oh. '80 is a little too high for May.
What'd you say?
80 is too high for May around here.
I like 70, 75.
Yeah.
With a little breeze. All right, 8:48 for you.
Okay. Oh, I did not get enough sleep last night.
What's your favorite season?
Halloween. That's a whole season all on its own.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I can tell by the sticker on your car.
Yeah. Halloween, the whole month. It should be a season all on its own.
I agree. We should off board.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you well.
Thanks. You take care. You're welcome. Okay. So I had a half sibling that yeah, my family was very weird because half sibling is special needs, and Mommy Dearest was in total denial that he had any kind of issue. Um, I remember my dad getting in fights with him all the time. And one time he tried to throw my dad down the steps off the porch. It was only like 3 steps. He got pissed off, really violent, because my dad, no, you need to go and get a job. And when I say special needs, he was capable of doing some things, but he had basically the mind of a 12-year-old and serious mental health issues on top of all that. But my dad was getting really angry at the fact that, you know, he wasn't signed up for any kind of services, um, life coaching, nothing, He went to special ed school, but there's still jobs that he could have performed. Um, and Mommy wanted to keep him home as her own personal lap dog, basically. And he had his little rituals where he would sleep until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, have to take a shower, get on the bus, go into town, go downtown, go somewhere. And he would go and buy comic books and movies and all this other stuff. And it was like, wow. He always had the latest and greatest gadgets. My dad sent him off to hi Greg, go get a job in Alaska. My dad had connections in Alaska. Sent him off to Alaska to go and work the uh, seafood processing here in Ketchikan, and he'd be gone for the whole summer, and then he'd get sent off to a few months, and then he would go back out again and do the crabbing season. And so when he was home, he did nothing um, except for argue with my dad. But I remember one time my dad and him were arguing over the condition of his bedroom. My dad had taken his bedroom door off, and uh, so they got into a fight, and he tried to throw my dad down the stairs. My dad wasn't having any of it. My dad just beat the piss out of him. I remember that because it was my birthday. And my dad said, no, enough. You are going to Alaska. Sent him off to Alaska, and hoping that he would get a job, straighten up, and maybe Mommy Dearest would find a way to, establish him into services of some sort to teach him how to be an independent person. Because it's like as soon as he came home from Alaska on his first trip, he went out and blew all the money on comic books and uh, video games. Um, Back in the days, the Atari 2600, then the ColecoVision came out shortly thereafter. Anyway, so I remember getting my first job, and my first job was as a tutor, and my dad was so proud of me because I was working while going to high school, and he thought that was cool. He would drive me to and from work because I was not old enough to drive yet at that point, and uh, drop me off and come back a few hours later and come pick me up. And it was a lot of fun. And but when I got the job at the restaurant, it's like he was so incredibly proud of me. I was 17, just graduating from high school, and um, I went the job without being told that he had to go get a job. And so I would come home every so often because we were able to get a free meal. And it was always a barbecue turkey sandwich with cheese, barbecue sauce on the side, coleslaw on the sandwich, and a milkshake. And my dad and I would share the sandwich and milkshake and watch boxing together. He would actually greet me at the door when I walked in his pajamas, bathrobe, and slippers. And he'd be standing at the top of the stairs, and he would greet me. And we would go into the kitchen, and he'd already have two little plates set aside, and two small glasses set aside because we split it. And we'd sit there and watch boxing together. And he really loved that. He really enjoyed that. I remember because my dad was a milkshake junkie. Um, I got him a milkshake machine for Christmas one year. For my when I got my when I had my job with the school district, they only paid me like $100 a week or something like that. And um, back then, that was a lot of money for a teenager. So I bought him a milkshake machine for Christmas, and I had hid all the ingredients in the basement refrigerator and freezer. And on Christmas Day, I made a milkshake with it, showed him how to use it and everything. God, his eyes were just beaming. He was just so excited about that. And yeah, so I think once when the weather warms up, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack a little picnic, go and find myself some barbecue turkey sandwiches and milkshakes, take it down to the cemetery and go sit with my dad for a bit. Have the sandwich there. Like I said, he was an awesome dad, but my childhood was not not a great childhood. I have a lot of fond memories with my father, though. My dad was great. He tried his best. Uh, the barbecue pit was interesting because it was just this little, independently owned little, you know, step up to the counter, order your food, wait for your number to be called, and they'd come and get it. Everything was made from scratch, though. And oh my gosh, like I remember the first day that I worked there, coming home smelling like mesquite, and we didn't have a deep fryer, thank goodness for that. Um, Best brisket in town. When I think of it, when I go to a barbecue place, I um, I judge their brisket, or I judge their restaurant on how good their brisket is. If they do a good brisket, then I will go back. If they don't do a good brisket, I won't go back. And one of the other funny stories about that place was that um, my first Christmas holiday, and it was like Christmas Eve, or maybe it was the day before Christmas Eve. It was snowing pretty heavily, and there was nobody in the parking lot. Nobody wanted to go out. The Christmas tree lot guy, I could see him off in the distance walking across the parking lot because this was in a strip mall. And he was walking across the parking lot and wandered in. He ordered all his food and then he used the bathroom, so he disappeared in the bathroom for a while. And came out, and I was still packaging up his order. It was like a quart of Brunswick stew and a quart of chili and a quart of baked beans and 5 pounds of pork ribs and you know what on earth is going on here? Oh man, I wish I didn't go this way now. So we were talking, and I made a comment about I bet it's really nice to be a part of a family's Christmas memory. And he looks at me and he's like, "What?" I said, "Well, you know all these families that come in and they they pick out their Christmas tree and they take it home and set it up, and it's got to be cool to be a part of their memory." He's like, "I never thought of it that way." Do you like Christmas trees? Oh yes, I love Christmas trees. Never had a Christmas tree before, so I didn't grow up with a real Christmas tree. They were always fake Christmas trees. He goes, "Well, why is that?" And I told him, I said, "Because my mother didn't want a real Christmas tree because she had this belief that the house was going to burn down." What the hell? That the house was going to burn down. So I never grew up with a real Christmas tree. So I go back to making his making up his order. He added some beef ribs to it, and I had to go into the back to pull some beef ribs out of the smoker. And I came back and he was gone. Food was still sitting there. He had already paid for it, so it's like, where did he go? Maybe he went back to the bathroom again. So I finished putting his order together, and I stuck it in the window under the heat lamp so it stayed nice and warm. All of a sudden, I see him walking back across the parking lot again. The closer he got, the more I realized he was dragging something along with him, and he gave me my first real Christmas tree. And it was like a 7 foot noble fir. It had a pretty hefty price tag on it. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I want you to have this Merry Christmas. So that was the coolest tip I ever got in my life. Um, and I remember standing there crying over the fact that somebody gave me my first Christmas tree. And the owner comes walking out and goes, "What's the commotion out here? What is that doing in here?" I said, "Never had a real Christmas tree before." And he brought me a Christmas tree. Well, get it the hell out of the restaurant. You could see that I was crying over it and just overwhelmed by the generosity. And he's like, "By the way, just go home. Just take it home. Go home. Merry Christmas. See you after the holiday." So he let me out of work early. So I loaded this thing into the back of my truck. I used to drive a little Toyota 4x4 truck back then. And so I loaded it up, and it just seemed like it was just. And my dad was greeting me top the stairs, but I didn't have a sandwich and milkshake in hand that night. Instead, I'm dragging this Christmas tree in, and my dad's like looking, and he's got this smile beaming. He goes, "Where did you get that?" And so I told him that the Christmas tree lot guy gave it to me as a tip, and and he smiled. He's like, "Are we going to put it up?" I said, "Yes, we're going to put it up." So I tore down I moved all the Christmas presents out of the way. I already knew what was in them since I wasn't I'll explain later why I would know. Okay, so I guess I'm not going to be going this way tomorrow. Actually, no, tomorrow's my early day. It's dark 30, so I'm not going to be going this way for a while. This is ridiculous. I'm sure that this is probably going to go all summer long. So I'm moving all the Christmas presents out of the way, and I'm tearing down this Christmas tree, this fake ass Christmas tree. It wasn't even a nice Christmas tree; it was a fake one, and tinsel everywhere. And yeah, that was the other dumb thing is we would put lights on the tree, but we were never allowed to light them because we're gonna catch it on. So irrational. So sofa, and he's watching me, and we're talking, and I could tell that he was a little upset that I didn't have a sandwich, but I had that instead. So he just pretended that he was not upset over the sandwich and the milkshake, and all of a sudden it's like mommy wakes up, and she's like, "What's all this noise out here? Oh my God, what is that? We're gonna burn the house down." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You don't even. The house is not gonna burn down. I want a real Christmas tree. For the first time in my life, I want a real Christmas tree. You get that thing out of here." And so she grabs it. She's pulling it out of the tree stand and just yelling at me. I'm like, you know what? Screw this. And so I took the Christmas tree out, put it back in the. That was the best tip ever. Fast forward a little while, I had suffered a miscarriage and didn't go back to the restaurant. And took some time off and got back to it. Uh, Ended up losing the apartment. Moved in with some friends. They had a house, and every night was a frickin' party. I didn't like it. Um, I worked at this. worked at this Italian restaurant, and I remember having to make. I was learning the prep side of that job, and the owner, the executive chef, actually had a special, and it was this stuffed chicken Tuscan chicken dish, but he wanted mashed potato as a side, and it was supposed to be for a wine dinner, and he wanted to do mashed potato, and he asked me to make mashed potatoes, and somebody had taken the the lid off the lids off the bins of the salt and the sugar, and swapped them around, and I didn't know. And the potatoes were really, really, really sweet. And he got so mad. Like I purposely sabotaged him, um, sabotaged his dinner. And I did not. And it turned out that the servers had uh, gone to refill the salt. I was told that I would have to go and work my way back out of the dish pit for a while. And even though it turned out it wasn't my fault, it was still my fault because I should have tasted the salt before I put it in there. I didn't know that. And that was brutal. It was really brutal. I hated cleaning saute pans. I really hated that. There's just there's all these memories of boo boos and for a bit. Um, Restaurant I worked at was evacuated midway through a dinner rush. Live music that night. The place was full, and we were being evacuated because the building next door uh, was starting to collapse. Now we needed to go out to the parking lot, move all of our cars, and uh, get out. Turn everything off and get out. I felt so bad for the morning crew. Because they came in the next morning to find the building had that they had to actually bring a demolition crew in to knock the building down next door to stop the stop this building from collapsing. There was only a single story. It used to be a Mexican restaurant at one point, and it had sat vacant for so long that it was just basically crumbling. I don't know what the story was behind it. It was something to the fact that the owner was the patriarch of the family, and he died, and nobody wanted to take over his restaurant. So it none of his kids wanted it. So it just sat there, sat there, and sat there, and sat there. Not even a for sale sign, no for lease sign. It just sat really vacant for no reason. And it's to this day, it's still a parking lot. Of course, the wine bar that I used to work at is no longer a wine bar; it's an axe bar now. So, you know, whoever the hell came up with the concept of an axe bar really needs to have their heads examined. I mean, yeah, go and get yourself some cocktails and some food and throw axes at targets. Yeah, that's real smart. God, can you really trust your friends to be throwing axes after, pounding a couple pitchers of beer? Actually, kind of frightening. The good old days. Oh, yeah, just yeah, fun stories. Never a dull moment in the restaurant industry. Always something weird, always something screwed up, always something. And now I work. I won't be late for work after all. It's late getting out anyway, so you know, get out an hour early. I'd be 12 instead of 4, leaving at 3. Especially if it's a nice day tomorrow. It's like maybe we'll stop off at the Gander and at the marina and get out of there. Go to my own stopping grounds, check it out. That's interesting. A whole bunch of people standing in a circle in the middle of a parking lot. Definitely is a beautiful day though. Wow, there's a lot of cars at that stand. At least 10 cars. Must have like half off lattes or something. Customer appreciation. Oh, cool. There's a Miller paint. Paint my bathroom. In the bedroom. There's a bunch of little projects I want to do around the house. Yeah, I'm sure that he watches this on replay. He's gonna be like, "What do you mean?" A water feature that was unplanned. Oh, that's interesting. Homeless person on a bicycle with a little trailer. And they've got a they've got a Walmart awning. He's using it as a tarp or a tent something. Uh, Goes out and films all the all the drug addicts and stuff in Seattle. And this morning there was a real gem of one where it was a Asian grandma was overdosing. You know, So it's gotten real when you got Asian grannies that are overdosing on a combination of meth and fetty, you know. But that happens when you decriminalize street drugs. You end up with Seattle. All the filth, all the homeless people that are in need of services, and there's no services. The only services they have are uh, needle exchange and safe places to inject. Whoever came up with that idea is just like, I think they were high. Something needs to be done because this isn't working. Yeah, yeah. Gonna be able to make the gate. All right, people. I'm here. I'm present. I hope you enjoyed that Throwback Thursday. Just remember, don't use a chef's knife to break down boxes. If you do, don't be like Robert and use and slice downward like that. So I'm gonna let y'all go. Thanks for joining me on my car ride. Have a good day, everybody.